designed for decentralized e-commerce. So I actually started the project in early 2014 after doing my first cryptocurrency project called kittycoin, which was a meme coin that was a response to Dogecoin at the time. And yeah, right?
I was going to ask, but
yep,
asked and answered.
Absolutely. I figured, if Doge can do dogs, then I can do cats.
I love it.
Problem.
Welcome to another edition of Automate and Grow. I'm joined today by the two founders of BlockChain Foundry, Sebastien and Jag. And I always ask you guys to pronounce your own last names, but it's Sebastien and Jag Sidhu, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, all right. I got it straight. So I'm really excited that you guys have decided to join me today. BlockChain Foundry is doing some pioneering work, I would say, in the world of blockchain as a technology. So thanks for jumping on to an episode of Automate and Grow.
Our pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
So this is obviously a complex but also exciting area. And maybe you can just tell us a little bit, real briefly, like what is BlockChain Foundry and what are you guys trying to do out there? Or what are you doing? Because you are doing some real stuff.
Sure. I'm happy to talk about that. So BlockChain Foundry is a products and services a blockchain products and services company that we started in late 2017. The company itself is really an outgrowth of the project that we've been working on together for the last several years, since 2014, a project called Syscoin. And Syscoin is a cryptocurrency that features a set of hardened services that are designed for decentralized e-commerce. So I actually started the project in early 2014 after doing my first cryptocurrency project called kittycoin, which was a meme coin that was a response to Dogecoin at the time. And yeah, right?
I was going to ask, but
yep,
asked and answered.
Absolutely. I figured, if Doge can do dogs, then I can do cats.
I love it.
Problem. And so after working on kittycoin for a while, I really got interested in the potential of the blockchain, right? Since a blockchain is nothing but a decentralized ledger of data state, you can use blockchains to represent really complex structures and processes that go well beyond just the ability to ledger a balance around, right? So when I saw this, I very quickly kind of came to a place where I knew I wanted to build a set of interesting services that people could mix and match to do some cool stuff with. And I really settled on decentralized e-commerce because that was one of Satoshi's original visions for Bitcoin. When he started the project, he did talk about having an e-commerce component or service in the Bitcoin blockchain, but that never happened. And so I took that on. And so what we did is we designed a series of services to do just that. The first one is a service called aliases, which allows you to essentially establish your identity on the Syscoin blockchain in such a way so that you can receive Syscoin to a human readable address, as well as use that alias as kind of the identity foundation for our other services. So after aliases came offers, and offers really allow you to list any product or service you want to on the Syscoin network for other to discover. So if you're interested in, for example, selling your home crafts, whatever they might be, you can get on the Syscoin blockchain, list those products, set a price, and other people can then find those products on the Syscoin blockchain. We also created something called certificates, and certificates are a way for you to be able to control and own some information. So, Syscoin certificates have a public component and a private component, so which means the private component cannot be seen by anyone except the owner of that certificate. So it's actually a really good construct to be able to, for example, sell game codes or data on the Syscoin blockchain, because you can pair a certificate with an offer and then sell that offer. So you, as for example, the seller of secondhand game codes, can get on the Syscoin network, create certificates that have the codes for those games, link them to offers, and then list them on the Syscoin network. We also created services like escrow, encrypted messaging, and now we're actually about to release a new service called Assets that will allow people to tokenize anything, basically. Syscoin Assets will let you create tokens, your own tokens on the Syscoin network, and you can create a variety of different kinds of tokens. So you can create both fungible tokens, i.e. tokens that can be subdivided into fractions, and non-fungible tokens as well, so that you can, for example, create share certificates, for example, right? Things that cannot be subdivided. We also have the ability to be able to create interest-bearing tokens, as well as the ability to link particular sets of tokens to unique data. So if you wanted to associate a token with something unique like a serial number, you can do that. And so out of the Syscoin project was really born BlockChain Foundry. In late 2017, we saw a really strong need to create a for-profit organization around our team, because we were starting to get a tremendous amount of interest from people wanting to work with us. And we also wanted to create a vehicle that would allow us to create products that we could sell on top of the Syscoin blockchain and others. So we were funded in late 2017, and we got off the ground basically in early 2018 with 6 individuals, and we are now at over 20 employees just a few months later. So we've grown tremendously fast, and are busy on both the product development and consulting side as well. So lots of exciting things going on here.
There's so much to unpack there that I'm not even going to try. First, I appreciate you giving kind of a really great history of where you guys came from and what you're doing, because I think for a lot of people it's probably really complex, the whole concept, but that's amazing. So thank you, Sebastien. So if I'm today, the type of clients that you're getting, are they commercial clients, or are they people trying to build stuff that will future serve commercial clients? Like where are we at in this space as far as blockchain as a tech? Like people obviously talk about cryptocurrency, but that's not the only thing we're talking about, right? We're talking about the ability to do actual transactions and commerce, similar to maybe in 1999 when people were first creating e-commerce websites. We're kind of at that stage now, I think, right? Is that a safe way to describe it, or?
Yeah, on the extras pyramid, we're on the base layer still.
Okay.
In the digital economy, we're kind of still figuring out the architecture, the structure, and how this will all work. And then the commercial clients will build on top, and the retail clients will come on top. And then the middlemen, if they want to take their cuts, will be on top of that. But we've minimized the amount of middlemen at the architectural layer, which will increase the efficiencies all the way up the pyramid.
So the idea is that since we're kind of at that ground zero, and I always kind of say that 2018 is like ground zero of a 10-year exponential growth on a bunch of technologies, and blockchain, not necessarily crypto, but blockchain itself is, I think, at that year zero. So it sounds like you're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah,
okay.
We strongly believe that.
So the reason that you would be working on this would be that this is a way to have a decentralized, secure technology as opposed to using the internet. Is that a good way to describe the potential of blockchain? Or are there other motivations?
Blockchain really has the potential of decentralizing all kinds of different business processes. And right now we're really focused on e-commerce in terms of what we're doing on the product side of BlockChain Foundry. So what we currently have out there on the market is a product called BlockMarket Desktop. And I would say that BlockMarket Desktop really is a strong proof of concept for what the Syscoin network can do. The BlockMarket Desktop is our combined wallet, decentralized e-commerce proof of concept. So you can download the product, sync the Syscoin blockchain, and then you can transact Syscoin just like you can with every other cryptocurrency wallet. But you can also list items for sale, search for items, purchase items, either through escrow or without, message other people on the Syscoin network. So really we have a foundation for e-commerce out there already, for decentralized e-commerce. what we're going to be working on, or actually what we're already working on and we'll be releasing later this year, is our next gen product that really is targeted for users to be using actively in e-commerce called Block Market Web. And what Block Market Web is it's a web-based decentralized e-commerce platform. So folks will be able to download a Block Market Web instance, install it on a server, and then essentially stand up a website that they can use either as a Shopify-like website where they're listing their own products for sale in Syscoin and other cryptocurrencies, or they can stand up a website that will allow them to resell other products on the Syscoin network, thus letting them act as a sort of affiliate, if you will. And so we're really focused on that because we think that we can, or we know that we can release a really functional, really beautiful e-commerce product that I think a lot of people will react very positively to. So that's really kind of one of our big product focuses right now on at BlockChain Foundry.
So I'd like to touch on the Amazon on that, and then Amazon actually offers the affiliate model today, and that's the big competition for the reseller system. But if you think about Amazon, it's a central policymaker, and so if I'm an affiliate and I'm getting cornered by Amazon because they're saying, you want to use our platform, you have to give us this price. Well, there really is no choice for that affiliate to move on to sell somewhere else. They have to kind of do it through Amazon. Whereas a decentralized marketplace, since it's the de facto place, the barrier of entry is low, there's no, the policy system is decentralized, there's no single entity that's driving these prices to say you have to sell at this price. And so if I'm an affiliate, I can find someone else to resell, or I can move on and do something else inside of that decentralized marketplace. I have other forms of revenue that I can make. Whereas in Amazon, you have to kind of follow the policies of Amazon.
Right.
So that's kind of like the big stark differences between the two, the central versus decentralized policy, in that, you have the escrow system where you can buy and sell things and you're not limited to these policies on the decentralized network. Whereas in the Amazon model, you have to kind of go by what they say. If they decide that they're going to cater to the buyers, they're going to fix the price for the buyers. If they cater to the sellers and they're going to try to bring more sellers in, then the buyers will be on the hook for those costs. So we try to decentralize that and disrupt that model.
So I guess what, people might envision is I've got some sort of a key and I'm walking around with it and we kind of rub keys and I can transact data together that's money or goods, right? But how does this actually, you said, for example, Sebastien, that you want to create a beautiful product. What does this look like to people? How do I find, how do I know this is a blockchain versus like a traditional e-commerce, or is it totally separate? Like, how am I discovering this? And what does it look like to users?
Well, it will look to users a lot like a traditional e-commerce website with all the features that you could expect on an e-commerce website. However, there will be some functionality that's very much unique to the way the blockchains work, right? One of the things that's kind of unique to blockchains is the way that transactions are actually performed. If you're on a traditional e-commerce model, really everything happens server side. There's a central authority that is sitting there waiting for you to essentially send your credit card and close a transaction. And all of that happens in one place, basically on the e-commerce website itself. With Block Market Web, those transactions are going to be signed on the client, since essentially as a holder of cryptocurrency, you're responsible for controlling your own keys, your own private keys that are essentially linked to whatever crypto you're transacting in. So there will be, Block Market Web will essentially be two separate products that will work together. One will be the Block Market Web website itself that will allow you to look for items, search for them, add new items, purchase items. And the other will be a Chrome extension that we're currently calling Pangolin that will essentially act as a Chrome wallet, very much like MetaMask, and will allow you to essentially client sign transactions for any product that uses the Syscoin network. So it's a little bit different than e-commerce, but a lot of the flow is essentially going to be pretty much the same. You can expect to come to a website, search for the products you want, browse in a particular category, look at product detail, look at some history information for the seller, put that product in your shopping cart, purchase the products that you want to purchase, send your address to the seller, communicate with the seller. Everything that you could expect to see on a traditional e-commerce site will be part of Block Market Web.
The difference being that when we have that final transaction, you're saying, for example, it's not going to go through a central payment processor to verify with Visa and then transact it. It's between the two users, basically, is the big difference.
Between the two users and through the Syscoin network. That's correct.
And so the promise of that is, number one, merchant fees gone? A very small, but it's kind of a practical thing, right?
Processing fees are essentially gone. I mean, if you're dealing with credit card processors, your fees are anywhere between 1% to 3%, right?
Right.
If you're dealing with the Syscoin network, there is a optional closing fee that the owner of the Block Market Web instance that you're shopping on might set. But otherwise, the network fees to actually perform that transaction are absolutely negligible. And so there's definitely a savings for the sellers there.
There's another component to this in that it reduces the amount of fees because there's no central policymaker, but it also gets getting a block here. I was thinking about the other reason, but you have the ability to go to court and say, I bought something from somebody at some time, and this was the offer that I purchased. It was on the blockchain. You can easily verify that that person was the owner at the time if the price was correct. So overall, it's just a better way to do e-commerce with untrusted people. If you go on eBay and you buy something, you have to trust what eBay says. If you want to take the guy to court and say, he gave me this, and he took my $1 million, and this is why you don't have high value transactions off eBay and Amazon. You can't have that trust. And I bought this thing for $1 million, and you have to trust eBay to give you that information. Well, if it was on a decentralized construct where you can, again, this might be timestamping, or right now we're actually storing the offers on the blockchain. But if we think about timestamp, you could do it the same way. Essentially, you can prove in court that this is what you bought from this person. He signed on it, and he didn't give me something, or it was incorrect, or he cannot deny that he didn't do this action.
You must be a mind reader, because I was going to ask this. So basically, it goes back to that untrusted environment where you're making it so that you're signing it. So I know that the money came from you specifically, as opposed to, if I drop my credit card somewhere and someone picks it up and goes buy something on Amazon, that kind of goes away, right?
Yeah, well, that's like you're your own bank, right? That's
right.
One problem. You're solving the problem of, there's the central payment processor ensures that you pay from yourself, but there's problems with that because of fees and insurance. Whereas if you're your own bank, you're in charge of your own money. There might be insurance models on top of that as well, but it'll still be less fees because there'll be less fraud and stuff like that. But the other problem is being able to go in court and proving your case and reducing the cost of the courts overall.
And then what about reducing the risk of the transaction, like not meeting the terms? Like, the way I understand it is within that ledger, you can put the actual terms that you're transacting on. And I know you mentioned escrow, which would then be only under these circumstances the money would get released. Is that kind of part and parcel of one of the other benefits of this?
Well, yeah. So right now, since we don't have a fully autonomous economy, we're headed there. You can imagine that you need some human intervention. So we have that arbitrator to the arbitrator is involved with subjective measures to figure out if the deal was closed or not. Remember, this is an untrusted environment. The internet, you can assume that actors will be bad. So you have to have somebody. You can't have an algorithm right now, because if you find a loophole in the algorithm, your system's broken. Just kind of like if you find a way to attack the Bitcoin blockchain and take it down, then there's billions of dollars at stake, right? So you have to have kind of the case-by-case arbitration. But where we're headed towards is an autonomous economy and something that will be following closely as well. Where if you imagine the escrow is managed by something like, say, a robot that delivers that item in the urban centers. Like right now, there's
man.
Well, so if you load that offer up on that robot and it delivers that food, and you have to sign off on it, then the terms of sale are basically disclosed right when the guy sees the food and he takes it out and he says, I'm good. If he refunds it, he says it's not good, it'll be captured on video or whatever, right? So anyways, that's an autonomous economy we're headed towards, where you don't have that human intervention, but right now you have that stopgap solution where there's people there monitoring these and they get paid for it.
That makes total sense. Yeah, it's super fascinating. So even we had a guest on the podcast, and their business is basically, they'll deal with arbitration built into agreements online. So it's kind of interesting. It sounds like that's what you're describing is built into the system.
Well, the contract of ours, in our case, is the offer. The offer says, I will sell you this for this much, and I'll give it to you by this date or whatever, right? And so again, in the court, you can prove that as a buyer, you can go and say, this is the offer I bought, here's a signed signature. The other part of it is autonomizing that. You can't really do that right now. The technology doesn't really exist, but we're headed towards there. So for now, you have the arbitrator that just manages that, and he signs off if he feels that there was any wrongdoing, he could refund, or you can direct the money to the seller if the buyer is not active.
It paints a really interesting picture of the future. It sounds like that we've got a lot to look forward to over the next 10 years for sure. I want to be conscious of your time because I know you guys are super, super busy. So I'm just going to wrap on a few things. First off, is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure that we touch on? And I know you have a release coming up as well, right?
That's right. We have a release coming up in just a few days. Actually, a major release that's coming out. Syscoin 3.0 will essentially contain Masternodes moving forward, and I can talk about exactly what that is in a second. And we also have a new service that we've implemented on the Syscoin network called Assets. And Assets is our tokenization service. So you will be able to create tokens on the Syscoin network starting in just a few days, very much like ERC20. Except our service is a little bit more flexible than the base ERC20 spec. With Syscoin Assets, you will be able to create both fungible, meaning divisible into fractions tokens, and non-fungible tokens, meaning tokens that cannot be divided down past a whole quantity. You'll also be able to create interest-bearing tokens, as well as create tokens that can be associated with unique IDs, which will be really great for use cases where you want to be able to link a token or a series of tokens back to some serial number. So, for example, if you're trying to create a token that represents fractions of a particular gold bar, you'll be able to do that. You can create a token type an asset type
Stamp
that is
it.
Exactly an asset type that is gold bar. Then you can mint a series of tokens that is directly associated with a specific gold bar with a specific serial number. There are lots of other use cases as well. So think, for example, supply chain use cases where you're creating some class of item and you want to uniquely stamp serial numbers on that item, and then you want some type of token that represents that item digitally. You'll be able to do that with Syscoin Assets. So we're pretty excited about that.
That sounds like a huge release. So
it is a huge release, and you will actually start to see ICOs being performed on the Syscoin platform very, very soon. The other thing I mentioned earlier was Masternodes. Masternodes are essentially an enhanced type of node that is bonded by the owner of that node. So meaning that you have to commit a certain amount of Syscoin in order to be able to run that node. That node then provides enhanced services on the Syscoin network, as well as pays out Syscoin on every block. So it gives people a way to not only earn Syscoin in a kind of a proof of stake model, but what it also does is it greatly enhances our network and our capability to be able to do some awesome things. So the idea is that Masternodes will essentially provide a foundation for level 2 services on top of the Syscoin network. And we're really excited about that. Having that capability will allow us to do some pretty amazing things moving forward. And so we're very much excited for this release. And we also think that we will get quite a bit of folks standing up Masternodes because the ROI on them is pretty high.
So Masternode is like essentially the concept of where am I mining to release coin, or maybe just explain quickly what Masternode is so I don't mistake it. Is mining still a component of this, by the way?
Yeah, so it's interesting to note that this is a hybrid proof of work / proof of stake model.
Okay.
And it's widely known that proof of work is the only secure way for consensus on a blockchain. Proof of stake has not been proven, and I don't know if Vitalik is coming up with a way to make it work that will fix the issues with proof of stake that it currently has. There's issues with proof of work, but it's still, in the long run, it's still cheaper, as known as the current implementations of proof of stake. But perhaps a hybrid approach gives us that scalability and services that we need to scale beyond just the 5 or 6 transactions per second that Bitcoin's giving us. And so we think that adding that masternode there gives us that. So the mining schedule for proof of work is still intact, where we're merge mined with Bitcoin. So if you're a Bitcoin miner, you get free Syscoin. Once you crack a block on Bitcoin, you get the Syscoin. And so we're tagging along on the Bitcoin hash rate quite nicely. I think 30 to 40% of the network is going to be mining Syscoin of the Bitcoin network, so it's fairly secure. So we get almost that free security. We also give those coins to the miners, but we can reduce those effectively because they're free. If you get Bitcoin, you get these free Syscoins. We can reduce the amount that block reward is giving you for the proof of work miners. So that lets us maximize the amount of rewards that we can give out to the masternodes in return for these full nodes acting honestly and in the best interest of the network, which gives us high throughput, high availability, full nodes that they're providing security on the network. So even probably more than the amount of nodes that Bitcoin's running, it's probably as much or more, because it's you're incentivized to run a full node. Whereas in Bitcoin, you're not really incentivized. So it's a model where you're mining coins in 2 ways. You're getting mined coins from the bonded validation mechanism, and you're also getting coins from the proof of work. And it's a lot more lucrative on the bonded validation mechanism. The proof of work on the proof of work coins is less coins, but you're getting it for free. So it's higher, lower risk, higher reward, but smaller quantity.
So you're incenting existing miners to adopt this, basically. And the idea behind the super node is that it's going to speed up the transactions, you feel. It's like amazing. Okay. Because that's always one of the limitations people talk about of growing a blockchain, is like that, the number of transactions you can get done, right?
Right, yeah. Scale is the biggest problem right now in the industry. So we're actively have our own roadmaps for scale that we'll be rolling out with our next gen architecture. Different ways to leverage the masternode layer.
This is all incredible to me. I'm sure some people are kind of going to have to go over it twice to understand it, but I'll make really good show notes. So first of all, I'm really excited that you guys have shared some time with me. I'm going to wrap with 2 quick things, and I think I probably already in my head know the answer, but how are you guys changing the world?
Well, that's a good one. Jag, you have an answer for that?
I think we're providing we're providing the grounds for something that's going to break the barriers and allow the network effect to ensue for blockchain. Right now, the biggest problem is scaling and throughput, and if we get that, then there's no stopping blockchain. You know, the proponents are always saying the decentralization, the security, and the critics are always saying it won't scale to society. You know, you have this great technology, but it only works in your basement. Well, Satoshi knew that. I mean, right. he was a genius, and he knew whoever it was a group. They knew that it wasn't going to solve the world's problems overnight. It's going to take smart people to come in and build on top. But the model, the ground framework is built there, where you can kind of take that and run with it and make a hybrid approach maybe that might offer, you know, different ways to, you know, if you're transacting in higher values, you still fall back to the traditional safe approach where low values you kind of add an insurance model to it or something like that. But I think we're if we can solve the scaling issues, we'll definitely be changing the world, because we'll be introducing this technology to the average person and the commercial entity out there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I really believe that cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology really do have an amazing potential to change the world. I mean, I feel like we're at the nexus point of technology, finance, and social change with cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and to me, that's probably the most exciting place to be right now. I'm having so much fun, working 16-hour days, and
That's it.
No, truly, there's nothing more fun than this. When you think about
I believe you. Yeah,
what blockchain can do in terms of governance, in terms of increasing efficiencies in our financial systems, in terms of removing central actors which have really taken advantage of their positions to fleece a lot of people.
Right.
We're talking about some amazing potential to change the world, and to be there, kind of at the ground floor, doing all that, for me is the most exciting thing I can think of. And I'm truly grateful that I found Bitcoin when I did, and that we were able to build the team that we have, because I really do think we're going to build some amazing stuff.
I think what you're describing is breaking the troll under the bridge syndrome that rules the world right now, right?
Exactly.
And I have to ask this because you've said this a couple of times, and if I look back, is you've referred to Satoshi, who is the founder of Bitcoin, as brilliant, that he was brilliant. So are you confirming that Satoshi is a person?
It might have been a group. I have my own theories on who it was based on my own extensive research. And for that reason, I would say that the coins that he had are truly locked up and burnt forever.
Oh,
because
okay.
I believe that he's no longer with us, if it was that person. But other people believe it's a group. Some people thought it was Nick Szabo, but that's been ruled out. Some people thought it was Hal Finney, that's been ruled out. It's not Gavin Anderson, none of those. It's not Craig Wright. And so there's not many people that know the socio-political climate, that have the crypto game theory, that have the math knowledge, the programming knowledge to really do that. There's only a handful of people out there that I think are capable. So if you really do the research, you can kind of narrow down the options there. It may have been a group, as in like someone was writing the code. I think whatever his name was, a crypto expert, could have been writing the code, and then there was a math crypto game theory guy behind them telling them the rules and the consensus algorithm, because that's really the meat of the algorithm.
I thought you maybe had some inside knowledge that we were going to expose here, but and
Well,
so you're confirming that neither one of you are Satoshi.
Neither one of us are. I do believe also, like Jag, that Satoshi is no longer with us. I have my own theories as to who it could be. Personally, I think it could be John Nash.
That's the one I was thinking about as well.
Okay. There you go.
It's amazing how something that's, and it probably makes a lot of sense, just the nature of Bitcoin and the way it works, that this would be a central mystery that may never be solved, right? It's kind of exciting, but
it's part of the mythos of Bitcoin.
It is, right? It's amazing.
Everything needs a good story.
It does.
And Bitcoin sure as heck has a fantastic.
Damn good one. Guys, I really appreciate you joining me. I'll wrap with one final thing, which is when we have interesting guests, we like you to nominate other interesting guests to appear on an episode of Automate and Grow. And usually the first answer is the best answer. So who would you like to introduce us to that you think should appear on a future episode of Automate and Grow? And they don't have to be in the blockchain world, but if they are, we would be more than happy to talk to them.
Just some ideas, Jack?
I'd like Vitalik to come on and give his thoughts. There's a Blockstream developer, Andrew Polstra, who's a cryptographer guy behind Schnorr Signatures, and that's a critical path on scaling Bitcoin. It'd be good to get his thoughts on what he thinks, because there's a stark contrast in people's thoughts, developers' thoughts on how to scale this stuff. You can't forever scale on the blockchain. At some point, you have to figure out a different way. And so Blockstream, Bitcoin's core developer team, basically, the only way that they think that they're gonna push the boundaries is keep making things more efficient on the chain. But at some point, it's not good.
It's gonna break.
Well, it's not going to break, but it's hitting roadblocks every step of the way. Even if you increase it by 100 times, it's 100 times more bandwidth requirements is not that much. We need a lot more than that to scale to society.
Got it.
It'd be good to get their thoughts on what they think on-chain scalability means, because that's kind of the biggest pressing issue that we're seeing.
All right. So who is Vitalik? Is that what you said?
Vitalik is Ethereum's developer. He has really good thoughts on the
right. Okay. Great. Oh, got it.
Side of things, and I would like to see Andrew closer because he's a friend of mine, but also I respect his work on the Bitcoin core, short signatures, and all that stuff he's bringing on board. He's a local guy from Vancouver as well. So.
Oh, that's cool. We got a Canadian connection going on.
Yeah,
you and I anyway. But listen, guys, we went a little bit over time. I really appreciate your time, and we will accept those nominations. And this has been another episode of Automate and Grow. And I'm excited because I feel like I just peered into the future of two giant brains that are going to change the entire world for real this time.
Right on.
Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day.
You too, Michael. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Right.